Hello, I'm Carl Stabe, and today I have Philip Shett with me, the CEO of Wave 9. I'm so excited to have you. What's your 5 minute system?
When I created Wave 9, I was flying around the country. I was living in San Francisco at that time, and I was flying around the country from San Francisco to Philly, from San Francisco to Chicago to New York, and we were helping organizations set OKRs. OKRs, objectives and key results, and we typically set those in great workshops that were really super engaging, and I loved my life back then because it was amazing to fly to those organizations and then were inviting us for these goal setting workshops. And when you have been in a goal setting workshop, typically it can be a very energetic and very passionate meeting where there's often a lot of discussion, but at the end, most often we are excited about what we have just said. And so I remember us being in Philly for 3 weeks at a large organization, and we have set goals with the leadership team, and then we have set goals with all of those departments and all of those teams. And me and the team, after 3 weeks, we're super exhausted, but also super proud of what we did. And then I fly back to San Francisco. 5, 6, 7 weeks later, the client calls me, and the CEO calls me and says, "Philip, I want you to come back in a few weeks for another goal setting workshop. Can you do it?" And of course I can do it. But what happened to the goals that we just set? And he said, "Well, I'm sorry, but I think we just lost track on them, and we completely forgot them." And then another client from Chicago called me and said, "Hey, you know, we want you to come back, but we need to change something because we set those goals and then we completely forgot about them." And that happens so often. So our clients keep inviting us for workshops, and those workshops are exciting, but then afterwards they are forgetting those goals again. And so as a consultant, that is, and as someone who takes some pride in our work, that was really devastating because yes, no one was not happy, but we knew that we weren't setting goals for goal setting sake, but to actually help these organizations achieve better outcomes. And that didn't happen. And so what we needed to change was that we moved from a like just setting goals into a system of how you actually achieve those goals and
Mhm.
how you actually make things happen. And those and that was the foundation for our OKR breakthrough program. And by implementing that program, we help them set up the right team that actually manages the process when we were away. So we created a team that was responsible not only for setting those goals, but for tracking and updating them frequently. Then we were creating a process of how that happens, that wasn't just like letting it happen and by accident, but was making it very, very systematic. And we call that our results rituals. And that was a process we introduced. Then we were putting a lot of effort in the third building block, that was, well, the training that we did with everyone. So instead of just doing the workshops and doing the work, we were training people. We're starting to train people internally. And those champions were then making sure that once we fly back, this doesn't the organization just doesn't go back to its old life. And then we were implementing the right change management, because very often the goals were forgotten because people weren't really brought into the change that these goals were trying to drive. So instead of just assuming that all we need to do is communicate a few goals and then change happens, we were managing that change actively with communication, internal press releases, internal memos, and repetition, repetition, repetition. And then
Mhm.
only then we come back for a workshop. So it was really important that we set up that system to move from setting and forgetting to, yeah, goals that were actually being achieved.
I love that. Yes. Okay, so step one, okay, do the workshop, set the goals, do it as a team. Then create that team or develop, I guess, appoint people to certain roles so they actually figure out how to or understand how to track it. And then three, what you need to do then is train them, right? Make sure they're doing it in a certain way. This is, I love that. I think so many people miss step two and three because they're so caught up in creating these goals, thinking that they almost do the work on their own, when the reality, it's the people behind it.
100%. And especially with something as simple as goal setting, we often assume that it's clear for everyone and that everyone
Mm,
knows exactly what is being asked from them, and
yeah.
that maybe sending out a template is all we need to do. But then what you actually get is people do exactly what they did before, and now they call it OKRs, and now they call it this certain way, but they aren't really changing anything. And that's yeah, that's not really leading to the change a leadership team wants to see. So we have to invest into training. And if we only do it, because otherwise people will have very different understandings of what this is. Because if you Google OKRs, you will get five different explanations at the very least, maybe 15 different explanations.
Mhm.
And so then you get the Google, oh, 70% is great, and then the maybe the measure what matters way is a different one too. And so you get all those different nuances, and then you don't get and you actually create OKRs because you want to create alignment. But if you aren't even aligned on how you're using OKRs, it's very difficult to use that as an alignment for your organization.
Yes, yes. That's brilliant. Thank you. That is a wonderful system that you've implemented.